Me 107.1 FM. If you can hear us in WA, it's on W93.5 around the world. We're streaming live on 3news.com. Download the TuneIn app from the Google Play, Apple iOS store, and listen to us on the go. Coming up this afternoon, family of Botiano shooting incident question account of police over the happenings from last Thursday as they bemoan their refusal to be given access to the bodies of their relatives. We hear from them shortly, plus chronicle what experts have described as a worrying trend of police killings. Also, this afternoon, one person confirmed dead as two illegal mining factions clash in the Etiwa forest. We take you there for details, and much later, Justice Gertrude Tokonu sworn in as the country's Chief Justice after her approval by consensus from Parliament. We take you to the presidency where she's been charged to uphold the rule of law in all her dealings. We have details of these stories and a lot more if you stay with us for the next 30 minutes. A pleasure that you could be a part of this afternoon's bulletin. It's streaming live on Facebook. Our handles 3FM927. Same handles on Twitter as well. 3FM927. I am Eric Mawuena Egbeta. Let's get into the details. And family of the Botiano shooting incident are questioning the police's account of events 3 clear days after some 5 persons were killed. The police, in a statement on Saturday, revealed 5 people died during an anti-robbery and anti-land guard operation at Botiano. The police added they had retrieved a number of weapons, including an AK-47, 1 pump action gun and 2 pistols, along with an unregistered Toyota pickup and 4 motorbikes. But for family of the victims, however, the account of the police cannot be true, as they were not directly responsible for the said operation. Shortly we'll hear from them, but let's hear from the Executive Director of the Bureau of Public Safety, Dr. Nanaya Akwada, who wants an independent investigation into the matter.
Yes, we have called for independent investigations because in the past, the police have not proven themselves to be honest or truthful. In all instances that we have followed, where the police investigated themselves, they have always exonerated themselves. Even in Asawase, where the police shot and killed 7 young men, went ahead to plant evidence against these boys. The police stood by their narrative until an independent investigating body proved otherwise.
That's Dr. Nanaya Akwada, is the Executive Director of the Bureau of Public Safety. We'll take you to the Botiano community shortly, as well as my colleague Godwin Asidiba has visited the area again to ascertain exactly what the concerns of the families are who have been challenging the account of the Ghana Police Service. Then we'll hear from Theophilus Tonko, who's lawyer for the victim and their families. He's been at the police's headquarters since Friday, but let's speak to security analyst Emmanuel Kutin now. He's joined us on the telephone line. Mr. Kutin, I appreciate that you could speak to us. I'm just hoping that I can run listeners as well through a series of what appears to be a number of killings by the police in the past, which is prompting consent, and then I'll pick your thoughts. And so quite a number of such incidents already in this year. There was a WA police shooting incident where one Abubakar Shahid was shot at Dandoli by the police and he died at the Upper West Regional Hospital. In the same March of this year, at Ntakofu, the police killed a 25-year-old Emmanuel Baden alias Abu after his arrest on March 15, and then 2 police officers arrested in connection with bullion van robberies in the country were shot dead during an operation which was in March of 2022, and then in May 2022 as well. Albert Donko was killed in Nkraza. Before July 2018, the police claiming to have acted on a tip of engaging in a shootout with some residents of Asawase in the Asokoremampo municipality, and that there was an independent investigation which revealed that these individuals were not robbers. The argument really is that one too many over the last few years.
Well, thank you for having me, and as always, good afternoon to your listeners. It's quite a very unfortunate development. The problem is there's always a lack of accountability when these events do occur. And you agree with me that there's a challenge with the current system we have at the Ghana Police Service, where the police investigate itself. So because of that, there's no clarity, there's no responsibility. So police more often than not are emboldened to repeat some of these occurrences. If you look at the current case we are talking about, the police statements do not correspond to the facts on the ground. And I think that in a democracy, every life must be respected. You see, who declares someone an armed robber or a criminal is a court of competent jurisdiction. But in our case, the police are always trigger happy to shoot. And we have moved away from the military regime and we are in a democratic dispensation. And this will infuse the kind of training we give our police personnel. If you look at reports I got on the ground, why would police lay ambush waiting for land guards to appear? What is the essence of the ambush? If you look at ambush in the strict sense of security, it means that you are targeting your opponent, and it's a do or die to kill or to maim. So I think that the loud cry for an independent police commission is growing louder by the day.
Right.
If we have an independent police commission, some of these things can be properly investigated and the victims given justice. You realize that in the past, and the catalogue of events you have mentioned, there have never been reprieve for the family. There have never been any form of judgment there in the name of the police service for these families. So
But
more often than not, the police are emboldened to do what they got.
But for Asawase, where there was a committee and then compensation given to the victims of the family, it's been relatively an instance of the families crying foul and no investigations. Even the account now by the police is being challenged because the police statement did not mention any of the suspect arrested, but some of the family who spoken to us behind the scenes tell us that some of the suspects were arrested as well, but the police has not included that in the statements they issued on Saturday.
You see, in the Asawase case, it took a political twist. That was why a mega amount was given to the family. We don't call that compensation because it's not punitive enough. How do you compensate the life of a family with the bigger amount they give to the family? These processes ought to go through the law court so that lessons are learned and it is incorporated in the training of the police personnel. That is what we call transformational. And the police have brought about transformational agenda on several occasions and we don't see the police being transformed. To be the actions of the police does not endanger trust within the civilian population. And more often than not, when they come up with this report, civilians on the ground, because of social media and other things, are able to contradict and provide the facts. So I think that in a democracy, and as we always call on our police personnel or our security agencies as a whole, security is a shared responsibility and they can't do it alone. And the more they continue to perpetuate some of this crime in the full glare of the general public, the more they lose trust in the service.
Right, sir. Mr. Kutin, I appreciate that you could speak to us this afternoon.
Thank you.
That's security analyst Emmanuel Kutin speaking to us this afternoon. I mentioned that we're working the telephone lines to engage my colleague Gordon Asidiba, who's in the Botiano community first off, and then the lawyer of the victims in this particular incident, Theophilus Donko. But while we wait to do that, we'll connect to security analyst Adib Sani on another security concern, because the police have been urged to fish out and apprehend persons behind a viral video of a Fulani woman being molested by some youth group. In the said video, the team and youth are seen harassing and beating the helpless woman after they stripped her naked. The incident is believed to have happened at Zebila in the Upper East region, where tension has been high between Fulani nomads and the indigenes of the area, and their fears the latest incident could spark trouble if not properly handled. Only last week, the Fulani community in Ghana complained about targeted attack on their members, and Adib Sani is a security analyst as well. He'll join us on the telephone line with some more. And for those of you who might have seen the video on social media, it is quite troubling and worrying, exactly the content of that report. And so we'll work the telephone lines and engage Adib Sani shortly for you if you stay with us here on the news on 3FM 92.7. But away from this, one person has been confirmed dead following a clash between two factions of illegal miners in the Tiwa Forest Reserve in the eastern region Sunday night. The victim is said to be a Togolese national who was among other foreign nationals engaging in the galamsey activity in the forest. No arrest has been made just as yet. Chief of Sejimase, where the incident occurred, Berima Obotuo Dankwa, says the activities are being done on his blind side in the forest reserve. He thinks a more collaborative effort with the youth of the area will help arrest perpetrators a lot easily.
The main gate to the forest, or the gateway to the forest. And inti ajume biara nanka ebeba so no. E wo se me masuti na me kobomi ramane. Nanso yada nanso ye nangu abontin. We are not there to collect money or snap to do whatever we like, but we are there purposely to know everyone, each and everyone in the community, so that if anything, but one yes sir, never be bad, and if I could be some police for now, they will tell you say, we go free. Now me catch on class here, they young conference or nipa no now non pro. If they will go and then assist him there, meanwhile we are not paying any tax to the community or in the government. So far as government did not open any mining work at the Atwa Forest, it's very obvious for you as a person to go and work because you don't have any paper, and that place does not own for anybody except government and Nananum. Even me, if I want to do something, unless I go to the government and ask for permission to work on it, but none of them is galamsey, it's illegal mining activity where they are doing this. And so I'm pleading, if that be the case, then the government should come and open work at the forest so that everybody can work, and at the end of the day, the government will get his share, the community people will get it. Because we have a lot of men and women, they are not work. So they will go there nicodemously and then do whatever they like. I will not go and watch at the forest. So abino per se forest clear evidence and the community be a forest community I was on ba now one for community one for moon boys now one watches idea with my.
So that's the chief of Sejimase, where the incident occurred, Berima Obotuo Dankwa, pretty much explaining exactly what he says because he spoke in English as well. But in a related development, members of the Operation Hall 2 team, they've seized excavators and burnt some mining equipment in the Bosomchi Range Forest Reserves in the Bekwai Forest District of the Ashanti region. A total of 6 pumping machines and other mining equipment used by the illegal miners in the reserve were also destroyed. The tools were impounded and burnt in a 4-day operation carried out by the military task force against galamsey in targeted forest reserves in parts of the Ashanti region. Operation Halt was executed under cover after days of intelligence. Deputy Command Operations Officer of the Central Command of the Ghana Armed Forces, Lieutenant Colonel Louis Boachi, expressed worry about the extent of damage to the natural reserve as a result of the act.
The people are bent on still carrying out the illegal mining activities, no matter what, because several messages has been passed down to them to stop the illegal mining activities because of its impact on the environment. But yet, we still see people carrying out their activities. Just as we left, we picked a signal that some people return to those areas to still mine. So I'm appealing to all stakeholders to join the fight against illegal mining, because it's not only the military that can solve this problem. We can come and stabilize the environment, but other stakeholders must also go in to do the needful to ensure that the environment is safe. It is illegal, and if they are arrested, we will hand them over to the police, because they are responsible for prosecuting them, ensuring that justice is done. They should stop. It is damaging the environment, and at the end of the day, it will affect us in future, because our sources of water are polluted.
So that's the Deputy Command Operations Officer of the Central Command of the Ghana Armed Forces, Lieutenant Colonel Louis Poache there, and we'll stay in the Ashanti region a while longer because there's an impending ban on the movement of tricycle taxis within the central business districts of Kumasi effective June 16. And the decision, according to city authorities, follows increasing indiscipline and blatant disregard for road traffic regulations by most of the riders. But the riders want the activities rather regulated other than the restriction being introduced. Ibrahim Abubakar, he's there for us, he's joined us on the telephone line with a lot more details. Ibrahim, talk to us about this ban and what the riders have been telling you today.
Well, Mawuena, they're obviously not happy with the decision by KMA to restrict their movement. Previously when they started operating this tricycle taxis, which even in our laws, of course, it's illegal to operate on commercial basis and tricycle. But they started, and initially the MPCD wanted to restrict their movement within Kumasi entirely, but they realized due to the growing unemployment rate among the youth, they have to allow them to operate. But with time too, we are seeing a lot of indiscipline among some of these riders. You come to the central business district where I am at the currently, and you see that most of them have parked on the shoulders of the road and creating unnecessary vehicular traffic or congestion and other things. So the KMA this time around has decided to take steps further, not to take them out of business entirely, but at least to restrict their movement within the central business district, and so that they will decongest the place and also sanitize the road. I engaged the PRO for KMA, Henry Tabuade, and who has been explaining to me why they have to take these measures.
Ibrahim, we'll hear from the KMA director shortly, but you've engaged the patrons as well. Exactly what have been their responses?
Well, the patrons are also siding with the operators, and they think that with the coming in of these tricycle taxis, one, it has made access to these ones affordable and also more accessible. So, by the nature of the tricycle, if you even take one, it can be able to take you to in front of your house, even if the road is not good. So it has reduced the cost comparing it to taxis and also trucks. So they believe that if the authorities will rather regulate the activities, exactly what the operators, some of them are telling us, if they will restrict or operate the activities strictly so that they punish offenders and also allow those who work to work, rather than restricting their movement, that will rather help them than saying they will not allow them operate within the central business district at all.
Each and everyone is saying that the country is hard. So now the youth has engaged into this work. So if, as they said, they want to restrict us from going to some places in the central district, at least people who are working there, where do they want them to work?
We plead with authorities to rather streamline our activities and deal with offenders rather than this restriction.
So some patrons there are speaking to my colleague Ibrahim Abubakar, was on the telephone line with us a while earlier. You're listening to the news here on 3FM 92.7. We're streaming live on Facebook and handles 3FM 927 as well. And we'll be returning to that Fulani conversation and bring you a lot more details on that as well. But let's take it to the presidency now, where Gertrude Torkornoo is the country's newest Chief Justice. Her Ladyship, Justice Gertrude Torkornoo, would take over from Justice Kwesi Niniebua, who retired in May. She was approved by Parliament on Wednesday, June 7, and she becomes the President's third appointment to the office of Chief Justice since he assumed office in January 2017. Her appointment took some twists and turns as the minority during the vetting, amongst many things, said that they were awaiting the written judgment of the Supreme Court on the James Chachikwesin's case before they decide on whether or not they will give heed to her nomination. But after that written judgment, despite not agreeing to it, the minority nonetheless added their voices and decided to approve of her by consensus. Nana Edua is our presidential affairs correspondent, is joining us from the presidency. Nana, the indication we get is that she's been sworn in. What's been the commentary from the president?
So, yes, she's been sworn in. They just were in a few minutes ago. And the president has been speaking highly of her, that she would definitely be a good replacement for Justice Enin, who just retired on the 24th of last month. And she's been highly praising her that she fit the bill to do it. And what he said to her is that he should justify her selection or election as a replacement for Chief Justice Enin, because Justice Enin did a lot of work, and they expect that she will follow suit. And so it's been praised, and it's been good wish from the president that she does well, because she's the third woman Chief Justice, and her predecessors have done a lot of work, so she should follow in their footsteps. She herself, after she's been sworn in, has been talking large on technology. She thinks the judiciary has not taken advantage of digitization and technology to upgrade their system and to make their work efficient. So she's promised that this is where her target will be, that she will need the support of the legislature as well as the executive to do that. So it's been support throughout. Right
then, that's Nana Edua, presidential affairs correspondent, providing details there for us as to exactly what's been happening at the presidency, and we'll get a lot more details for you if you stay with us here on 3FM 92.7. We're streaming live on Facebook as well. Our handles 3FM 927, and we're going to move away from this and to Ghana's cocoa sector, because cocoa, the country's cocoa, is at a high risk of being flagged in the EU market if evidence leveled against it that some farmers cultivate produce in forest reserves is proven. Although Cocoa Board has refuted the allegations, it is confident the new cocoa management system will fish out such culprits should there be any. And PR of Cocoa Board has been speaking to my colleague George Quinn, who joined us on the telephone line with a lot more details as to exactly what Cocoa Board has been saying. And then we'll take you to Asin North, where there was a flag raiser by the NDC as they mark 31 years of existence. Second vice of the party, amongst many things, has been making a quite strong statement in relation to exactly what will happen there, and we'll get a lot more details there if you stay with us here on the news here on 3FM 92.7. We're working the telephone lines to engage George Quinn, and is my colleague. He's at the offices of Cocoa Board at this particular point to get responses to concerns that the country's cocoa could be banned as a result of farmers having their farms at forest reserves. George Quinn is joining us on the telephone line. George, you've been engaging Cocoa Board. Exactly what are their responses to these very worrying concerns? Unfortunately, we've lost George Quinn on the telephone line, and we'll try one more time and connect with him for a lot more on exactly what Cocoa Board has been saying. But I was telling you also about the second vice chair of the National Democratic Congress, Dr. Sherry Aite, who served notice that all corrupt appointees of the NPP administration will be prosecuted and jailed without delay should the NDC return to power after the 2024 general elections. And she was speaking the 31st anniversary. But let's go back to George Queening and get a lot more from him. George, you were telling us about exactly what Cocoa Board has been saying.
Yeah. So there is this allegation against Ghana, the fact that some farmers engage or cultivate their produce in forest reserves, and that degrades the environment. So EU is highly concerned, and so it's the reason they are on watch to have these evidence. So when they get the evidence, it means that our cocoa beans will be flagged or not be bought in the EU market, and so we are tyrants. So what Cocoa Board is saying is they've instituted a new system, which is the cocoa management system that was in 2020. And so with that system, it was very difficult for farmers to, cultivate their produce in the reserve. When you have to be a certified cocoa farmer, so with that, you'll be given a card. To get that card, the Forestry Commission would have to come and determine where you farm, all the polygons of your farm. The Forestry Commission would have to come and determine. So when it falls within the forest reserve, obviously we deny the card. So beans are bought from people with a card. So what that means is even if you are farming in a reserve, we won't be able to buy your beans. So that's what it is. So for them, the measures have been put in place to ensure that farmers conform to this. So I asked him, would they be surprised to see that there are some farmers who are, cultivating in forest reserve? It says to be highly concerned because for all the things that they put in place, it will be 0.99%. Entirely
right. Right then, that's George Quinn providing details from Cocoa Board. We're returning to that Fulani story and the concern there where the police have been asked to pick up suspect as it could result in tensions. Then the police have been urged to fish out and apprehend persons behind a viral video of a woman being molested, a Fulani woman being molested by some youth group there. And Adib Sani has joined us on the telephone line with a lot more. Many thanks, Ms. Adib, for speaking to us. You've seen the viral video and obviously it is concerning, but what should the police be doing? I know the calls have been that they should be fishing out these individuals who are behind this molestation.
Well, it is concerning for us within the civil society space. We do know that repercussions some of these situations can have to our security. Indeed, I have stated over and over again, this is more like a VIP invitation to terrorists because they always feed on local grievances and takes advantage of people's frustrations. So I would urge the security services to, as a matter of national security priority, ensure that these, hoodlums behind this act are strictly arrested and put behind bars and possibly prepared for court. I have been in touch with the leadership of the Fulani community in Ghana. I've spoken with them just a few minutes before I came on air, and we are pursuing to get to where the lady in question is. Where it happened, I have all the information. Maybe I will not be able to put it out on air, and where she's moved to and where she has moved to again. I mean, we are keeping track of that, and hopefully we would get her to report to the police. A lot of these incidents happen in the past, but most of them are illiterate. They don't know that they have to go to the police to report. Okay, so now that this has happened, it should give us the opportunity, in as much as it's despicable, to work to ensure that such acts doesn't go unpunished.
And do we know what influenced the action of the youth group?
All right, so when you listen critically and based on information I have also picked up on the ground, it has to do with the youth groups in the area blaming the Fulanis for a series of robberies and attacks against certain people in that area. and they felt that they also have to visit mayhem on the Fulanis by attacking their women and possibly children, because in the past children have been killed. And that, I think, is dangerous because it has the potential of creating a cycle of violence and counter-violence and reprisals, which I think would be detrimental to the security of the state. No matter what a Fulani does, you have no right, even if he kills 1,000 people, to subject him or her to such acts. And now that they are going after women and children, I think it gives us a very dangerous turn of events that needs to be addressed ASAP.
Right, sir. Mr. Adib, I appreciate that you could speak to us.
My pleasure.
That's Adib Sani, he's a security analyst speaking to us this afternoon as we end this afternoon's edition of the Bulletin here on 3FM 92.7. As always, a lot more news if you log on to 3news.com. The business team, they're up next with the very latest from the world of business. I am Eric Mawuena Egbeta.